Welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. We're going to be taking a look at Dakota Gold Corp today, ticker symbol DC. You sent us a bunch of information on them, got some recent stock performance stuff, financials for the company, some expert analysis. We're going to unpack it all and see what it means for you.
Yeah, it looks like we got information on recent price movements and the trading volume, some key technical indicators, and a bit about the company's background too, their recent financial health, potential red flags and strengths, and then we'll look at like the overall market sentiment and what people are saying about the future outlook. Seems like we got a lot here.
It does. It's a good mix. It should give us a clear picture of what's going on with Dakota Gold.
Definitely.
So why don't we start with their stock performance? I see some ups and downs lately. Like right now, it's hovering around $2.77 a share. But in the past year, it's been all over the place. Low was $1.84, high was $3.50.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you look at the recent activity. Just on March 28th, the price dipped a bit, like 2.59% or so. But then the day before that, it actually went up, like a bit over 2%. So it seems like the market's a little unsure about this one right now.
Unsure is a good word for it. If you just look at the last 10 trading days, they've actually closed lower in 6 of them.
Yeah.
So there is that short-term downward trend you talked about. But then again, even with that little dip, if you look at the bigger picture, it's down about 16.57% over the last month. But over the past year, it's up like a solid 6%. So,
Paul.
it's been moving.
Right, and that's where you got to kind of bring in the whole market picture, Like the beta for Dakota Gold is 0.96. That means it's a bit less volatile than the overall market, which, makes sense. A gold exploration company, it doesn't always move exactly with the whole economy. But when you look at that average weekly movement, like 10%, that's more than the market average. So even though the overall trend might not be too wild, you're going to see bigger swings on a week-to-week basis.
That's for sure. It's definitely a stock that's been keeping people on their toes. So let's take a step back for a second. What exactly does Dakota Gold do? I know we have some info here. They're into gold exploration and development, right? And they're focused here in the U.S., specifically the Black Hills region of South Dakota.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is that they have a pretty big footprint in the Homestake District. Like that area has a long history of gold mining. It's been going on for years and years. And their main projects, the Richmond Hill Gold Project and the Maitland Gold Project, they're both right there in that district. So that could be a huge advantage for them down the road.
Yeah, being in a spot where, there's already gold, that's got to be a good sign. Let's look at the financial side now. We've got some numbers here. In 2023, they pulled in $3.2 million in revenue, but they also posted a net loss of $5.7 million.
That loss, though, it's not uncommon, for companies that are heavy into exploration and development. They're spending a lot up front to hopefully make a lot more later. If you look at their leverage ratio, it's at 1.1, which means they're using a reasonable amount of debt to finance their operations. And then there's the price-to-book ratio. That one's pretty interesting. It's sitting at 3.11. What that means is that investors are paying more for the stock than what the company's assets are actually worth right now, on paper at least.
So that basically means they're betting on the future.
Exactly. Especially in a sector like gold exploration, one big discovery and those assets could be worth a lot more. So that tells you something about the markets of perception. They see potential in those Black Hills properties. Big potential.
Interesting. We've also got their free cash flow here. And it's negative, around negative $7.6 million. That means they're spending more than they're bringing in.
Again, it kind of points back to that focus on the future, not necessarily profits today.
Right. Makes sense. So we see they're spending a lot, hoping for a big payoff down the line. But what makes people so confident?
Well, the information here highlights a couple of key strengths. First, they've got those significant gold mineral properties in a really good location near those historic mines. And that's a big deal. That's a real asset with real value.
And it also says they have an experienced leadership team. That's always a plus, especially in an industry like this. You want people at the helm who know what they're doing. But we also have to acknowledge the potential downsides, right?
Oh, absolutely. We talked about the negative net income and free cash flow. That's something to keep an eye on for sure. And the leverage ratio, while it's manageable now, if they don't start making money, that could become a problem. And then you've got the negative EBITDA. It just emphasizes the challenges they're facing right now with their operations.
So yeah, some risks, but also some real potential. What's the market saying about their future? I know there's been talk of some strategic moves, maybe even some stock offerings.
Yeah, stock offerings. It's tricky. It can be good or bad. I mean, on the one hand, it gives them more cash to fund exploration and development, could really boost their growth. But it could also lead to dilution, which means each share represents a smaller piece of the company.
That's a good point. Something for investors to think about. What about the analysts? Are they optimistic?
Well, the information we have here says that some analysts are predicting the stock could go up by around 33.26% in the next 3 months. And they're giving a price range of $3.54 to $5.11. So some people definitely see a bright short-term future for Dakota Gold.
Interesting. And it's worth pointing out that they've actually outperformed the U.S. metals and mining industry overall in the past year. Their stock is up 27.1% compared to the industry average of just 2.7.
Yeah, so they're doing something right even in a volatile market. And going forward, those potential stock offerings and any updates they give about those exploration projects, those are going to be big drivers for the stock price.
Definitely things to watch. But of course, there are always risks, right? The market can change in a heartbeat. And it's not easy to make a profit in the gold exploration business.
Right, and that's why the general recommendation right now is a hold for investors. It's a cautious approach. It reflects that balance between the potential for growth from their land holdings and the uncertainty of their financial situation and the market volatility.
Yeah, makes sense. And some analysts are even saying the stock is currently trading at a premium, which again brings us back to the idea that maybe that future potential is already baked into the price.
So when you look at it all, you've got a company with a lot going for it, operating in a proven gold mining area, but they've got some work to do financially. And that recent volatility we talked about, it's a reminder that there are risks involved. Short term, some analysts are pretty bullish, but it's not a sure thing.
Thanks, for sure. So the big question for you as an investor is how much weight do you give to that future potential versus the current reality? What are the most important things to consider when you're looking at Dakota Gold Corp? That's something for you to decide.
Hopefully we've given you a better understanding of the situation based on the materials you sent us. Like we said, there's a lot to think about.
Absolutely. And if you found this helpful, please do us a favor and subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Let us know what you think. We're always on the lookout for new companies and trends to explore.